Hello, Panther Network. My name is Christian.
I'm CJ, also from Panther Network.
Yeah, and today we're going to be talking about tabletop RPGs.
More specifically, we're going to talk a little bit how to get into them if you would like to do that, as well as some of our personal experiences with them, because it's fun.
So how did we originally get into tabletop RPGs?
Honestly, I think one of us just brought it up one day, and everyone was like, yeah, no, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, I think there's an Instagram post the first day you and I played D&D together at our friend Sam's house. It was, I think, April 23rd, 2022, I think.
I do not remember.
It was sometime in April 2022, so that means it's been about 3 years.
Have we really been doing this for 3 years?
Yes, we've been doing it for 3 years. Makes you feel old, don't it? But what was your first experiences with tabletop? Was that your first experiences with it?
I don't think it was technically my first experience, but my first experience with it wasn't exactly great.
What was your first experience with it like?
I think it might have been when there was a D&D club in the school. That did not last long because what it ended up happening was a lot of the people there either weren't, I don't want to say this meanly or
just
anything,
say it,
but a little too shy because to be fair, it can be hard to get into a thing where you have to play as a character with a bunch of people you don't really know.
Yeah, I remember because I think you and I we had met before we did it, but I don't think we were really super close friends.
Yeah,
it was kind of a bit awkward.
Yeah,
the first time.
I knew Sam.
Yeah, I knew,
and I knew you by extension.
And I knew Sam, and I kind of just knew you by also extension. Yeah.
So we ended up doing, what was our first campaign?
It was a homebrew that I did or something.
Right. Yeah.
You guys ended up killing a chimera by cutting off a water system and drugging it and stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember now. That was fun.
that was
by at that point we got really into it.
It was very fun. I think whenever you start doing pretty interesting stuff, it's just kind of it helps flow it a bit easier.
Yeah, one thing I will say about TTRPGs is that it does take a little bit to get into the flow of things.
But once you're in it, you're really in it.
Yeah, once you get into the mindset of your character and everyone else's as well, then it really just goes.
I think from personal experience, from just this is a specific D&D thing for Dungeons and Dragons. I think specifically around level 3, if you're starting from level 1, is usually where you get that groove. Because your character's at a point, you get your subclass and all that usually, and you
get a more defined character in both abilities and having had that time to play as them.
Yeah, and it's also easier to flesh out things that maybe you didn't think about while you were making the character.
Austin.
Yeah, Austin.
They have a chronic problem of making characters with suboptimal stats, to say the least.
Yeah, I think Austin played a rogue last session, or not last session, last campaign, which was Ravenloft. He did a rogue with 10 decks, I think it was.
I think it was 12 decks.
That's still not good for a rogue.
It's still not great. No, it's that's the stat you want on a rogue.
Yeah. But, I mean, he was a very charisma-based rogue, which I think would have been fine if he went Arcane Trickster, but I do not think he went Arcane Trickster.
Well, no, he went Arcane Trickster.
Did he? Oh, then he just picked bad spells.
Well, we didn't get a lot of utility out of it.
That's true. I got a lot of utility. I played a Blood Hunter who made a pact with an Eldritch deity, and I got Eldritch Blast and stuff, which is a really good. It's a cantrip, which is a spell you can cast without using a spell slot. I used Eldritch Blast so much. I think I bursted the roof off of a building. With vampires.
Yeah. I remember. I was in the building with you.
Yeah, I think my character was on your back because I was playing a halfling and getting there slower than everyone.
And I was playing a dragonborn who was 7 feet tall.
Yeah, so I used him as a mount.
I was also a paladin, so I had a lot of strength.
Yeah, that campaign was so fun.
Curse of Strahd's so fun.
Yeah.
Curse of Strahd's a great starting point, by the way, if you want to get into D&D specifically.
Just don't do what we did in the House of Horrors or whatever it was called.
Oh, yeah, don't go to the basement.
Yeah, no.
The basement is a great place to go last.
But we went first because...
Walls split up, keep in mind.
Yeah, I think our friend almost died and we had to like rappel down and grab him and stuff.
Yeah.
Which was pretty fun.
I think you're the one that went down there.
Yeah, well, no, we tied a rope around me, and then you.
I was the anchor.
Yeah, you anchored, and we went and grabbed him.
We had a lot of interactions that campaign.
We really did. Yeah, our characters kind of meshed off each other pretty well. And you're actually you're doing the dungeon mastering for the campaign that we're currently a part of, at least our D&D.
Or at least our D&D one, yeah. Because we're doing Waterdeep.
Yeah.
Specifically, Waterdeep Dragon Heist, which there's also another Waterdeep thing that's after that, but I don't have that book. And
I'm very excited to see where Waterdeep goes.
Waterdeep is very good for role playing.
I've lost my character like 4 times because my phone sucks. So I've had to remake my character a bunch.
But that's just his phone issue.
I mean, okay, so TTRPGs, they're kind of daunting to get into. Like for D&D, you need like 3 books to even remotely think about playing it, unless you find like PDFs.
Yeah, you do need to do a bit of reading for D&D and any TTRPG.
Yeah.
But I will say, once you know one, it is a lot easier to get into others.
Yeah, like I think since we knew Dungeons and Dragons and how stuff like initiative and like rolling stats and all that stuff worked, I think Cyberpunk wasn't nearly as like challenging to get into. Also,
Cyberpunk also might. I don't know if Cyberpunk's easier to get into or not.
I don't know if I'd call it easy to get into.
I'd say as a player, it could be. As a DM, though.
As a DM, it's really weird, but you kind of just got to go with it.
Yeah. That is another thing about starting a TTRPG campaign with anyone, really.
Yeah.
You need a DM. And getting a DM can be hard, but you can also just be one and do your best, and you'll learn how to do it along the way.
Kind of what we end up doing. Although, if you are a player in a TTRPG, you do at least like a little bit. Like you can do your own stuff. You do kind of have to at least listen to the DM because they're the one telling like the story.
Yes.
And all that.
Communication is the most important part about TTRPGs.
It's just like a relationship. It's very important. I think also making sure you actually know what your character can do before it's like, because okay, think about it. You're in combat. The flow of the battle is wild. It comes to your turn, and you have no idea what your spells do at all.
And then you spend 10 or so minutes looking at your spell list, like, oh, I wonder what the best option is here.
I remember when we were doing Barovia, I finished my turn, and then it was Austin, and he didn't know what his spells did. And I remember I read the first couple chapters of Kagurabachi while waiting for him to get done with that.
Was that what you were doing the entire time? Huh.
Yeah, I read like the first half of Kagurabachi, I think, from all that.
Yikes. Yeah, it is daunting the first time, which that was one of his, if not the first.
It wasn't his first time. It was his first time doing like a proper, I think, structured campaign where he was a player.
So basically his first time.
I guess.
Which it's understandable. And as long as you're in a group that can help you figure out what you're doing, you'll have times like that, but generally it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, and also you got to remember, a lot of tabletop role-playing games are team games. You usually want to have a group of players that you can like see yourself working with and kind of work towards a common goal. It's not really like a solo sport where you're kind of like, oh, my character goes off on their own and goes and slays the dragon and stuff.
If you're making your first character, a great piece of advice is just go with something basic.
Yeah, human fighter.
Okay, human fighter is maybe a little too basic.
Human barbarian fighter.
It still can work. I mean, Austin made it work. Not Austin, Brad.
No, he was a bard.
Well, he's also a barbarian. Different one, but
that's true. But in like Barovia, he was a College of Swords bard.
College of Swords bard is so fun.
But then you never get bardic inspiration ever because they have to use it. And I like bardic inspiration. I like having the extra D6 safety net.
It's
at higher levels. It's
at higher levels it's D6, but in
at first level it's a D4 and it's not great. But
then it's a D6, and then it's like for College of Swords, I think it's better to use it for attacks.
That's the whole thing with College of Swords. They need it to do like their flourishes and riposte and all that stuff, right? Yeah.
That's besides the point.
That's besides the point.
Yeah, if we're rambling a little bit, but
Little
that's
bit.
just once you play a few games, you'll end up knowing a lot.
Yeah, I remember I first played Dungeons and Dragons because I'd seen Stranger Things, and I saw them playing it in someone's basement. I was like, I want to do that. So I got the D&D starter kit with the Lost Mines of Fandelver, I think it is, and I played it.
Oh yeah, that one. I think I also have that actually.
Yeah, I played it with my friend who was across the street from me, and he's not really into D&D like that, so it was kind of hard to get into it. But from that experience, I kind of knew the base rules and all that, and was able to go off and just play more. And I think playing more when you're doing something like that and just getting that experience is probably one of the best things you can do.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, your first campaign probably won't be great unless it goes on for a long time, but it probably won't.
Like if you're, especially if you're like trying to be pretty serious about it. Like if it's a campaign where it's just kind of like whatever can happen, we're just gonna have fun with it. I think it's a bit easier for like a first campaign.
Yeah, for a first campaign, just having a more casual like tone can definitely help a lot because it makes it so that if you make a mistake, you can be like, oh yeah, no, it's fine.
But if you're like running a campaign like as a first timer and it has lore the size of like the Game of Thrones books, yeah, no, that's not gonna end up going well.
Yeah,
I think writing a campaign, you just got to keep it simple.
for your first few times, probably.
Well, even later, you kind of just want it to at least be concise.
It really depends on the group you're playing with.
I guess it depends on what they want to do.
If you're doing what our group's doing and kind of alternating between some campaigns every now and again,
Yeah.
it is good to keep it concise because what it allows you to do is it allows you to not have to keep track of every little thing in a campaign between doing a completely different thing. But for most groups, I imagine you're probably going to do one campaign. Whenever that's finished, go to the next.
Yeah.
But it is generally a good idea to keep your game world easy to remember.
And also, if you don't want to just do a custom game world, but you don't want to do like a module or something, you can go online and find a lot of really good like homebrewed campaigns.
There's a lot.
There's so many. Well, it's because
some of them are really good too.
it's because Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, which is like the most popular edition of Dungeons and Dragons, because it's not the newest anymore. Actually, D&D 1's now the newest because it's like 5.5e.
It's basically 5.
It's basically 5e, just like slightly better. My point is, like since 5e is like what's the not open source. That's specifically for software.
I don't know the exact
It's
word, but
whatever. It's like open source where anyone can write something for the 5e system because Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro are like, okay, fine. Because they tried to monetize it at one point, but
they tried so hard.
Did not work. So
they tried so hard.
Yeah, no. So now it's open source and all that.
Which also, while we're on the topic of Wizards of the Coast, if you really don't want to support them, you can just do like Pathfinders or something. It's basically like close enough. And it's a different game system, but like the tone of it being a fantasy world is
Pathfinder's basically 3.5e with more steps. That's kind of just what Pathfinder is. Also, if you do want to play Dungeons and Dragons, but you're not a fan of, big
you can look up
Hasbro,
PDFs online.
Just find the PDFs online. D&D is a super fun game, and I don't think it should be gatekept because the
Wizards of the Coast sucks.
Yeah, well, not even Wizards. A lot of the people from Wizards got fired by Hasbro, so I think it's mainly like because Gary Gygax would not have been a fan of what's going on with this.
Yeah, if you want to play D&D and you don't want to give support to the company, you can look and find them online. It's not hard.
It's really not.
It's shockingly easy, honestly.
Yeah, no, I mean they're big PDFs though. I got the new edition of the D&D 1, D&D 5.5, whatever you want to call it, of those books. Those books are long.
Yeah, they're like 200 something pages.
Oh, also another thing. So Baldur's Gate 3 is a really popular game.
Oh,
do not assume that Dungeons and Dragons is going to be just like Baldur's Gate 3. There are some differences.
There are similarities.
Because it's based off Dungeons and Dragons, I mean.
Yeah, it's based off Dungeons and Dragons. The combat is pretty good faithful representation, let's be honest. The only difference is how
Like,
spacing and elevation works.
yeah,
Because most of the time when you're playing D&D as the TTRPG, uh, elevation is probably not coming up too often. Like really good DMs might find like ways to incorporate that into
but
everyday
I don't
locations.
think
But
unless you're like in a tower shooting down, it ever actually comes up.
yeah, it's hard as a DM to incorporate stuff like that on a combat to combat basis.
Especially because if you're using like a combat mat or something and you don't have 3D modeled like miniatures and stuff, it's kind of hard just
Yeah.
to draw it out.
Yeah. Oh, and also a map is a great thing to have, but it's not strictly necessary.
No, not at all. You don't need like a combat mat or anything to play D&D.
Especially if you're focusing less on the combat and more on the role playing aspect.
Yeah. You don't really need anything super expensive or fancy to play Dungeons and Dragons. You just need a good few die. You don't even need die. If you have a phone, you can play D&D.
Yeah, pretty much. It doesn't improve the experience if you have things, probably, yeah.
Yeah. But I would personally recommend getting an app like 5e Companion or something for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, 5e Companion is what I use. It's great.
And if you're playing something like Cyberpunk, use the Cyberpunk Red Companion, or just find something for your TTRPG of choice. I'm guaranteed there's an app for it to help you keep track of things.
Yeah, there's, and like worst case scenario, I'm sure Roll20 has something, but
Oh, Roll20. It's not like a bad service. It's just not a great service. It's better than D&D Beyond.
and well,
Not exactly.
D&D Beyond isn't exactly a high bar, unfortunately. So take that how you will.
And-
but that's again a little sidetrack. But
Yeah.
yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is great if you want to like understand, like I guess like the tone.
It's a good jumping off point.
Yeah, it's like if you want to know what it could potentially be like.
Yeah. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is especially like because you can play it solo, and you'll have NPCs and stuff. I think it's a good representation of D&D for like the feel of it because there's so much you can do in that game.
Yeah,
and
you can do a whole lot.
and it has a very big focus on player agency, which I mean, or D&D
Is basically all player agency.
Yeah,
You can do whatever you want. Technically.
I'm gonna be real here. Most of the times I DM, I have like a rough outline of what I want to do, and I kind of just let players form what they actually want to do based off what I give them.
That's
And
a great way to DM, by the way. Improvisation is what you're going to have to do if you're DMing. Do not expect it to go according to plan almost ever.
I was doing a Naruto based Dungeons and Dragons game, Naruto being an anime, and it was supposed to be a simple recon mission, and things spiraled so much that it ended up starting a war. So just be prepared for like the worst possible outcome, but don't like be like, no, you're ruining the game. Just kind of go with it. It makes it a bit more fun.
Yeah. As a DM, you have to learn your plans will never go as they should, and you will have to come up with something.
Yeah.
But also don't let that scare you, because it's shockingly easy to improvise once you get into it. Because once you have a feel for your game world, you will know what will happen if the players do whatever.
Yeah. I think also just like the big thing is D&D is about having fun. You don't have to be like super like in the know or something in order to play it or to DM it or anything. D&D
We played it wrong for so
we
long.
played it very wrong for a long time, but that did not stop us from having fun with it at all. I think it's one of those things where it helps you express and kind of get lost in a game with friends and just have a good time doing something that you guys like.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to describe D&D. And even if you don't have friends who are interested in that, there are like groups of people who will like help you find a way to do that with them, even if you don't really know them all too well.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
D&D brings people together. I mean, it kind of sparked our whole friendship there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I might have known you.
I think we
well
would have
after-
known each other, but I don't think we would have been actually nearly as good friends if we
Yeah,
didn't
no.
go and play in Sam's basement.
Yeah, we play mostly in Sam's basement, don't we?
It's a lot of fun. It's a
It's a
really
lot
good vibe.
Especially when you turn off all the lights, get some candles. Ooh.
Oh my god, yeah, I love that so much. Get some music on the TV or something.
Yeah, D&D or just any TTRPG can be great fun, and atmosphere also helps a lot with that.
Yeah.
I think.
You just can't be afraid to kind of be a little weird with it. Just have some fun.
Yep. I think that is honestly the best way to go about playing any TTRPG. Let yourself be weird.
Yeah.
Like, weird things are gonna happen.
In a non D&D sense, in our Cyberpunk campaign, they just took out an entire gang of clowns and stole a clown copter.
Yeah.
I think you just gotta let things happen and have a lot of fun with it because I mean, otherwise you might not enjoy it as much.
Yeah. And honestly, I think another thing is important to establish with whatever group you're playing with how you want to do things.
Yeah. If there's not good communication between players and dungeon master and all that, it's gonna get lost in the shuffle, and there might be fights or something that sparks out of it.
Yeah. Oh, about fights. We actually haven't had any, not that I can think of.
Nah.
We generally have a feel for what we want out of it.
I think everyone in our group's pretty good at just kind of going with it,
However,
for better or for worse.
there are groups that just won't work together because, like,
Fine, different people, you know.
yeah, there's different people. I mean, there's gonna be some conflicts sometimes,
Yeah.
but even if your first time doesn't go so great, don't be afraid to like try a different group, see if that works better.
If at first you don't succeed, blast it with your blue eyes. I mean, try again.
Did you actually?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I
think that's a great.
I
Place
think that's
to
a great
end
place to end it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed.
off. Yeah.
See you next time.
Have fun.
Yeah.